Hello, welcome back to my world of stuff. My name is Paul Mount. It's another Doctor Who video. I'm sorry to do this to you. I wasn't going to do this video because something happened last week in the world of Doctor Who that engendered a certain reaction from certain areas of fandom, and I wanted to put a bit of a spin on it and hopefully a more balanced perspective on what happened, because it's been taken a certain way by certain people, inevitably. What I'm talking about, of course, is a clip from a Doctor Who convention. I think it was held in somewhere in the UK a couple of weeks back, with Christopher Eccleston, the Ninth Doctor, and his companion Rose, played by Billie Piper, reunited on stage, possibly for the first time since they filmed the series, talking about their time on Doctor Who. They obviously have different opinions of their time on Doctor Who for various reasons. It's no secret that Christopher Eccleston had a tough time making this first series. He had his own personal issues with his father was very ill, and he had some illness issues of his own. The production of the first series was a bit chaotic because BBC Wales were trying to do something that nobody in Britain had done before, recreating a beloved science fiction franchise, relaunching it for a 21st century sensibility. There was a lot of pressure on everybody involved with the series to get it right, because if they didn't get it right, everyone would have an egg on their faces, and they'd probably be still scraping that egg off their faces now, nearly 20 years later. Anyway, what happened at one point, the inevitable question was asked of Christopher Eccleston, not so much why did you leave, but what would it take to bring you back?
What would have to happen for that to become a reality?
Sack Russell T Davies, sack Jane Tranter, sack Phil Collinson, sack Julie Gardner, and I'll come back. So can you arrange that?
Did you find it hard to be associated with the character, given...
Not at all. I love being associated with the character.
Okay.
Just don't like being associated with those people and the politics that went on in the first series. The first series was a mess, and it wasn't to do with me or Billy. It was to do with the people who were supposed to make it, and it was a mess. And the first series of any show, Billy did Confessions of a...
Cool girl.
You know, first series, nobody wants to know. The BBC were like, we're going to keep a big distance from this. And then as soon as it was a success, they were all up close going, I was responsible for that. But they were all like at a distance, like this is a folly. Eccleston's folly, Piper's folly, Russell T Davies's folly. And then when it worked, suddenly, oh yeah, I worked on that. They wouldn't come anywhere near us. And then they jump on the bandwagon. Those kind of politics, I'm not very good at handling. I can't swallow that shit.
So there we are. That was Chris's response. Very blunt. He won't come back until Russell T Davies and co. are sacked. They would have to be sacked. It's a very blunt, bold, almost headline-grabbing comment. I don't know that he necessarily meant it to be headline grabbing. It's just something which he said he feels very strongly about. Inevitably, though, since this piece went viral, and it has gone viral, certain Doctor Who fans of a certain persuasion, the clickbaiters who will post any negative thing they can about Doctor Who because it gets them clicks, let's face it, have seized on this as proof that Russell T Davies is killing Doctor Who. Doctor Who's dead, R.I.P. Doctor Who's finished. Doctor Who is woke. All this nonsense that they've been spouting out for months, but now they're really going into overdrive. And of course, they've seized on this clip as the latest weapon in this stupid war of attrition against the series, which is actually thriving and doing very well. So let's look at Christopher Eccleston's position and what we can take from what he said. Now, Christopher Eccleston is a fantastic actor. I think he's a great actor. He's always watchable. He always delivers a very good performance. But I imagine he's not easy company. I think I've never met him, but if I did, I'd be watching my P's and Q's. And I understand that some people who've worked with him could possibly say he's difficult to work with. I don't know. But he's very principled. He's a very tough northern bloke. I think if you read his autobiography, which came out a couple of years ago, I think it's called I Love the Bones of You. It's all about his connection to his family and his father, and how important his father and family was to him, how important his northern roots, very working class, Salford bloke, very masculine, playing football and being manly. And that's the theme of the book. And that's the theme of Christopher Eccleston himself. He doesn't put up with any nonsense. He said further on in this interview, he doesn't do machismo. He's not into that sort of showy machismo, but he's very masculine, man's man, if you like. And that's the way he is. And I think if you offend calling him Russell. If you offend Christopher Eccleston, you offend him for life. And it's clear that there were massive issues with season 1 of Doctor Who. We don't really know what they are. I've heard various rumours over the years. Little bits have come out that he felt that certain members of the cast, perhaps, and crew weren't being as well looked after, and there was certain issues in terms of the way the show was being made. I've heard certain things, little things, which I'm not going to repeat here because I can't qualify them and I can't prove them. But there's things I've heard about certain issues around the production which weren't as tight as they would be, and I'm sure are now. And I think that it seems that Chris Eccleston had raised those issues to the production team, which would have been Russell T Davies, Phil Collinson, Jane Tranter, and Julie Gardner. And now we don't know what happened here. He was either brushed aside and told to just get on with his acting, or he was poo-pooed and it was dismissed. Certainly wound him up the wrong way, and it certainly caused him to lose faith in the people running the show. And that ultimately is why he left after one season. He couldn't work with those people who he felt had betrayed the principles which he held dear, which is in relation to safety and the way other people are dealt with on the show. And that's where it all stems from. And I think when Christopher Eccleston is offended, or you piss off Christopher Eccleston, it stays that way. There's no going back. And he said in the past that his working relationship with Russell T Davies isn't there now. He wouldn't work with him again, despite the fact that he was full of admiration for him, which is why he took on the role, because he'd done, I don't know if you remember, a 2-part drama called The Second Coming, which he did 2002-ish, which is what led him to going for the role of the Doctor. But that relationship's now broken down, and he's clearly not happy. He's still not happy about it. I think I'm glad that he has now embraced Doctor Who again, because for a few years after being on the show, it was almost as if it was off his CV, and he didn't like talking about it, he didn't like being asked about it. But as the years have rolled by, he's mellowed in that he has embraced the character of the Doctor. He now does Big Finish audios, he does conventions, he does all these signings and things. And as he says, he does it for the money, because he's got a mortgage. He even says later on in this video, he has a mortgage, and he'll do work that he needs to pay the mortgage and to keep food on the table and to look after his sons. He's now divorced, but he has 2 sons. So he's very, very blunt and very northern, and this is Christopher Eccleston. And he's just, in this video, he's just repeating the issues he's had since 2004, when Doctor Who started being made. And they're still very clear, they're very present in his mind. This doesn't mean that Russell T Davies, Jane Tranter, Julie Gardner, Phil Collinson are incompetent now, or ever were. It's just that they didn't work the way he wanted them to work. They didn't respond to concerns that he had. Now, I don't know what was said, what happened, whether they should have taken him more seriously as the leading man and listened to him. I just don't know. That's the grey area that we'll probably never know. But I think what we have here is Christopher Eccleston just venting on things which he's still bitter about all these years later on. We know that Doctor Who production is very different these days. And TV production is very different these days. Whatever issues he may have had back then were almost certainly addressed, perhaps not even as a result of him expressing concerns, but it's just the production team learning how to make a show on this scale with the pyrotechnics and the visuals and all the pizzazz that goes with a show like Doctor Who. That's all now much better controlled, whereas it clearly wasn't on the first series, because it was a period of stumbling around in the dark. Earlier in the video, in fact, if you watch the whole video, because it's interesting, he refers to the first block with an atrocious director. And I don't think it's any secret that he didn't get on with the chap Keith Boak, who directed Rose, Aliens of London and World War III, which were the first 3 episodes to be filmed. There were clashes there. I don't know what those clashes were, but there was clearly creative differences between them. And I think that when you have creative differences with Russell T Davies, that's it for life. And this is he's just voicing that now. He didn't enjoy working with those 4 people. He lost his respect for them. He's never regained his respect for them. He doesn't want to. He will only work on Doctor Who again if they're not there. Now, bearing in mind, they've been off the show for 13 years and he hasn't come back. I don't think he's ever going to come back, but it's just him giving a blunt, bold, headlining response to a question that was put to him. It is a shame, though, that the man-baby fans with their little YouTube channels and their graphs of Doctor Who's plunging ratings and Doctor Who RIP, Doctor Who woke, go broke, all this nonsense. They're using this now as more ammunition to say Russell T Davies must go. Christopher Eccleston points out Russell T Davies is bad man, all this nonsense. And that's not the point. The point is Christopher Eccleston is giving voice to those issues he's had for years, which haven't gone away. And that's really all I wanted to say on this video. If you do watch the whole video, you will get an impression of Christopher Eccleston's personality. He's very forthright. He's very outspoken. He'll speak his mind. He spoke his mind in 2003, and he was asked about it 20 years later, and his opinion's not changed, his view's not changed. And he spoke it in a blunter way than he ever has before. He's never named names in that way before. Now he has, because there's distance now. But I think it's a shame that certain elements of fandom have got their knives out for Doctor Who. Only, and I will say this again, only because by putting this stuff on YouTube, they will get clicks, because there are people who are interested in stuff like that. They either agree with it or they're interested in hearing about it. And they will click on their channel and they will get money. And that's basically the hate watching. I think it's called hate watching. A lot of Doctor Who, I'm not calling them Doctor Who fans, these Doctor Who viewers have realised that Doctor Who can get them a lot of attention and a lot of money. And that's what it's all about. And they use this now as another weapon to take a pot shot at the new version of Doctor Who. So when you watch these things, just bear that in mind. You have to look back at the historical perspective of when Chris Eccleston was working on the show and the issues he had at the time with the people who weren't experienced. Now they are more experienced, and whatever he says, whatever any of these fans say, they are the best team to steer Doctor Who into this new era. Right, I got that off my chest. As I said, I wasn't necessarily going to do a video on this because I thought, well, the more oil you pour on these troubled waters, the more they tend to go up in flames. But I just wanted to make it clear, because I think a lot of people will look at these hate videos and think, oh God, it must be true. They must be terrible people. Doctor Who's in bad hands. They're really not. Christopher Eccleston is still smouldering from not having a good time on Doctor Who, which he really wanted to do. And I understand that, you know. A lot of people have jobs that they really look forward to doing that don't work out for reasons. You clash with people. I think I'm fortunate in my entire working career. I never really had that problem. If I had an issue with anybody, it would be aired and you'd move on. But sometimes people can't. And I think if you've been in a job where things have gone sour because of the personalities of other people or the competence or incompetence of others, it will sour you towards that job for the rest of your life. And I think that's where we are with Christopher Eccleston. But I just hope that you won't look at that video and then look at the videos by the idiots on YouTube who are now using that to say, yeah, RTD must go. He's the devil in human form, because that's really not the case. Right, thank you for watching this video. If you have liked it, then like and subscribe. Marvellous, that would be great. And I'm edging towards 500 subscribers now, so it would be nice to get there by Christmas. And I could do it. I could do it with your help. So yeah, let me know what you think of the Christopher Eccleston controversy, if that's what it is, and how you took it. And hopefully you, because you're all reasonable people, I think my subscribers are all reasonable, sensible people, there's no crazy haters here. I hope you would have seen it and thought, and put it in perspective yourself. But I just wanted to voice my opinion of it, having seen it, and having known how incendiary it was going to be amongst certain drooling hate viewers. And Doctor Who, unfortunately, has too many of those. Right, that's it, I'm done. I'll see you soon. Until I do, keep taking the stuff.